The opener. And welcome to the Inaugural podcast, essentially biased, brought to you unofficially by the Valley of the Deer. My name is Barry Lancaster, co-hosting with
Kalen Barnum. I hold a BFA, University of Texas Arlington, also have an MFA from University of Texas San Antonio. And Barry, what about you?
I hold a Bachelor of Liberal Arts degree in Political Science from the University of Texas at Arlington that I received after my short but very interesting stint in the Marine Corps.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, well, should have been there to see it, man, let me tell you.
All right, so what is it we're actually doing on this show?
Well, I think what we're doing is we're highlighting just, everyday BS, if you want to call it that. I mean, come on. I mean, who doesn't pick up their phone, call a friend, and then rant for an hour and a half? And we're sitting here thinking, well, you know what? Why don't we just put this out there for the world to hear? Because I honestly believe that we can sit there and solve the world's shitty problems just by talking.
Scotch helps.
Yes, the Scotch does make the Scotch. What was I saying?
Oh, it's crazy, man, right? Me and this dude, we go back, oh shit, man, what is it, almost 20 years now?
Oh, God. It might be more than 20 years.
What was the 93, 94?
When did we go to Reed Junior High? Because we hated each other hard, man. Thank you, Carrie Wizenut, for that, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, deep.
You still remember the name?
I still remember that girl's face. That's bad.
Gone.
Hey,
All right, so we have lots of bumping the mic.
Well, it's like bumping the night, but bumping the mic. It's a new thing. It's at least it's not a Tide Pod, right? Did you hear Clorox is coming out with a tasty beverage to wash down Tide Pods?
Well, wait until they find out about the donut under the toilet.
The donut under the toilet. That deserves a drink.
Cheers. But yeah, where are we at in this society where teenagers are putting detergent in their mouth?
I mean, when I think of detergent or soap in your mouth, I think of Ralphie from The Christmas Story when he said fudge, but we all know he didn't say fudge.
Yeah.
So his mom stuck that huge bar of soap in his mouth, and now kids are willingly putting soap in their mouth like it's some kind of,
It's a challenge, right?
What is what is this challenge? I mean, I've heard of it. I've just never seen. Is there rules?
I can't speak.
Should we look this up?
I know that's going to be a lot of dead air, but
you're just going to have to talk.
I'm just going to have to ramble.
Ramble.
All right, so we're looking up this Tide Pod challenge. I was going to call it a Pie Todd. What the fuck is that? Well, yeah, I don't know. I blame the Scotch.
Well, but you're drinking Tennessee whiskey.
I can still blame the Scotch.
What did the deer ever do to you? Don't answer that question. We've seen you hunting. You don't answer that question.
The antlers are a microaggression.
Microaggression. Here we go.
Yeah, I think that's one of idiotic things I have heard. Microaggressions, raising your hands.
I see you're speaking about what was it?
Brett Weinstein.
Brad Weinstein.
Well, actually, it wasn't Brett Weinstein.
Evergreen
It was
State, right?
Yeah, and it was
Evergreen.
the president of the university who was accused of microaggressions.
But it wasn't it was incited by the incident with Professor Brett Weinstein when he just simply wanted to go to work and was accosted by students, both verbally, of course, right? I mean, I don't think there was any physical altercation really with Professor Weinstein, but I understand that he just wanted to go to work and teach his class on a day of absence. And I wish you could see the quotations there because the Scotch has made them very crooked and they're not really in the same line.
Well, Brett Weinstein won his suit against the university. I believe he got a cool $500,000 from that. My co-host is currently reading the Tide Pod Challenge, and his jaw is on the floor. Yep, it's still there. Because I know growing up, I knew don't put detergent in your mouth.
Yeah, it even says do not ingest. There's like a 1-800 number to call if you ever ingest it, because it's literally bad for you. But okay, let's see here.
Yeah, is it teenagers or
you know the Tide Company has to love this, that they are literally the poster child for these idiots. I mean, is that the poster child or poster?
I don't think they want to be. Well, what's this? The internet is running slow today. Looking it up.
Well, now we're watching an ad.
Oh, damn ads.
About tax dollars and schools and government. Okay.
I think we need to teach the youth no detergent in the mouth.
Yeah, this is... Let's see, okay. So they record themselves eating the Tide Pods. And then, isn't this something that every girl on prom night is supposed to try? And it's... Wait, okay.
Too much scotch for you. Back it off.
I'm just saying, I mean, you know, if you're chasing a gagging challenge, let's not use something that's poisonous. I mean, there are other snakes out there you can try this with.
I don't think a Tide Pod is a quotations snake.
Why? It sounds like that shit will come up and bite you at the last moment. You know, it's poison. You're playing with it. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Are we trying too hard? This sounds like we're trying too hard.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like, I think we should just have a discussion. We're trying to be on point and be relevant. I don't think we need that.
Well, I'd say the Tide Pod Challenge isn't as relevant as it could have been a while back. So, yeah. I don't know. Okay, so let's get back to the original idea. What would inspire teenagers to take a detergent pod designed for washing clothes and stick it in their mouth, and I guess video themselves gagging? I mean, is it going back to the whole reaction like what we had with that viral video where people were watching people's reactions to watching two girls in one cup?
Oh man, you're bringing up scar tissue there. I think I've seen that.
Hey,
video.
hold on. Red Hot Chili Peppers got nothing to do with this. Sorry, Flea.
You know, I think it's the fact that social media is such a thing now. I think children, young adults are seeking attention, and what's the word I'm looking for? Like you
Acceptance?
Yeah, there you go. From people, and this is like a bonding thing they're doing.
So, in reality, I guess what we're the only sense we can make out of this Tide Challenge thing, this Tide Pod Challenge, of course, is that it's teens trying to impress other teens through acts of stupidity, as we could call it. But for them, it's a sense of humor and accepting of a challenge. Like, how long can you keep a Tide Pod in your mouth before you gag? I mean,
yeah, that's the best I can come to it. I mean, maybe we're not the demographic for this or that thing, whatever.
Clearly, you know, somebody hands me a Tide Pod, I'm expecting, my expectation is that they think I'm fixing to do laundry, not put that shit in my mouth.
Ditto, because again, as little fellas.
Well, okay, let's take it. I mentioned a movie earlier called The Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and I both know that if you stick your tongue on a frozen pole, there's a high propensity for it to get frozen to that pole.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you go back and look at it, the challenge of the two kids going back and forth, and then he says, "I triple dog dare you," and then Ralphie's like, "Oh, it's the triple dog challenge. He has to do it, right?" I think there's always been amongst the youth a a resonating feeling to be accepted, even if that means doing something that's hazardous to yourself. Just like when that kid challenges you on the playground to do something stupid, like I don't know.
Stick your tongue on the cold pole.
Well, there you go. Stick your tongue on the cold pole. Wow, that could go so other many directions, but we'll keep it
I heard
clean.
it as soon as I said it.
Yeah, and we're going to keep it clean.
Are we? Okay.
But I mean, I can get the wanting for acceptance, but what I cannot understand, for the life of me, is why they choose the Tide Pod challenge.
I mean, what other challenges are out there, and why would they accept those as well? I mean, I think a couple months ago there's something called the Blue Whale Challenge, and it ended with you committing suicide.
Wow, and I didn't hear about that.
Oh, yeah. So there was like the best way I understand it is there were levels to this challenge, and they were increasingly like more self-harm. And the final goal was to complete the challenge, was to commit suicide.
You know, I think this is where I'd love to bring the wife in on this. I think she watched a show, I think it was Criminal Minds, and they were like that. There was there was a challenge going on where eventually the teen would commit suicide. So maybe that's what that show was. They were doing is they were taking this, would you call it the Blue Whale Challenge?
I think that's what it was called.
And they put it in a more cinematic view for more people to be made aware of that. But, you know, it's like, what does this say about us as a society? I mean, let's stop and think about this. I mean, what is it Uncle Ben says to Peter outside the library? With great power comes great responsibility. The only problem is who does this power really rest with? Social media. Is it really society as a whole, or are we at a point now where we need to start demanding that higher powers, i.e. government, I can't believe I'm about to say this. Actually, hold on. I have to have a drink of scotch before I finish this thought.
Ooh, yeah.
Because you know how I lean. I'm a non-government type. I think society can control its own problems through itself, but you know that requires parenting. That requires, you know, raising your children to have a sense of ethic and moral standards. You know, but then again, morals are defined by, you know, your society, I guess. Take savages for example. Eating the heart of your enemy was not only an ethical or even moral high moral stance for them, but that was considered an honor. You know, that they were, you know, devouring the heart of their enemy. But in today's society, you cut out this guy's heart right over, you start eating it, people are going to be like, whoa, this guy needs to be Hannibal Lecter. I mean,
yeah.
So I guess what I'm getting at is this, and maybe you can, you know, obviously I'm blabbering at this point, you probably need to chime in, but I mean, are we at a point where we need to start, I guess, censoring this kind of stuff when it comes out?
You know, I don't know. But again, what is it that's what is it in society that's missing that the youth feel that these crazy challenges that are detrimental to their health are the thing to do? Because I know when we were growing up, we would have got smacked on the ass and been like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I think we see the world different than they do, obviously. For us, you know what? I think it's a cabin fever mindset. Because here's the thing, kids don't go outside anymore. I mean, how often do kids want to go outside until the streetlights come on, and that's when they come home? I mean, when we were kids, we were outside all day, so we were all maybe setting up ramps to ride our bikes over, thinking we're the next BMX rider, you know, in the X Games that didn't even exist yet.
Well, they were coming up, but everybody had a bike, and we could identify, oh, I can do a jump.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was always, you know, how high could I go? And then when you fell down and broke your arm, ooh, I went too high. But that was it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we were taking a risk with our life because you could easily have taken that bad fall, twisted the wrong way, and that could have been all she wrote. You know, it's very similar to these Tide Pod challenges. So, is is it simply that the risk, or I guess the desire to for risk-seeking behavior is still there, and that the risks have just changed, and for us, it's just hard at our level, our age, to understand why they would pick that? Too
You're,
deep, too deep, too
I
deep.
don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But I believe with my parenting, Tide Pod challenge would never happen.
Well, no, and I agree. I don't think we would have ever thought to put, even though Tide Pods didn't exist when we were kids, but I mean, if we had Tide Pods back then, I don't think that's something we would have, because again, and then do we blame this on technology? Have we surrendered ourselves so much to the attachment to technology that we can't even operate outside without? I mean, imagine, let's just throw this out here. Imagine if every adult left their cell phone at home. How many people would get 5 minutes down the road before they said, "Fuck this! I'm turning around. I'm going back and get my phone. This is not something I can do."
I think, well, depending on the age of the adult, I think it wouldn't be an issue. Because, like, my mom can leave the house with her phone and be like, oh, left my phone at the house.
But your mom is a generation behind you.
Yeah, but I also feel that I could leave my phone at the house as long as I don't need it for directions. Then I think I'm okay.
Okay, so you don't have a Maps Go. You have no way to do directions. Now you need the phone, don't you?
Well, in that case, yes.
Okay, so my point, that's what I'm getting at, is it's like, can I get around without directions if I have a Maps Go? Yes. Because I was raised to use a Maps Go. I was raised to pull out the Maps Go and be able to figure out my route and map out my route. But, I will be honest, without having a Maps Go, and I'm not familiar with the area, absolutely I need one.
Well, I mean, I'm not debating that at times you don't need the phone for what it can provide. But if I say I was running to the store, I don't have to turn around and get my phone.
And that's true. So I guess what I'm getting at is, are we exposing our children to technology at too early of an age to where they become attached? Or
Oh, I believe that without you having to finish that thought. I'm a professor. I teach at college level, correct? I mean, you know this. I have seen I guess the impact of the phone, because I have students that can't even look me in the eye when they come up to talk to me. They take the stance like they're looking at their phone, look down, no eye contact, and it's almost like they can't comprehend what I'm saying because it's not popping up in text bubbles.
okay, so obviously we could say that technology has inhibited the youth's inability or ability to develop a social connection, because obviously, and most of these Tide Pod challenges are all shared via video, so people watch them on video. So I mean, I guess, so we blame technology, I guess, because again, I think it's still the same risk-seeking behavior that we had as kids. It's just we chose a different medium. They're choosing technology to upload videos of their stupid asses eating Tide Pods, whereas we didn't have video to upload our stupid asses taking our bike that was not ever designed to be jumped more than maybe 2 feet, and we're trying to send this bitch up in the air like we're fucking ET going across in front of the moon. Okay? So, I mean, I think the risk-seeking behavior is the same. I think the behavior to be accepted is the same. I think the medium has changed. So, again, are we at a point where, since some parents can't seem to... And you know what? I'm not going to totally blame every parent, because I guarantee you there's good parents out there who their kids were still being stupid enough to do the Tide Pod challenge. So, I guess what I'm getting at is, are, and I hit the mic again. Are we at a point where, while I would say that we need to teach our kids not to do stupid things like this is really dangerous for your health, and of course parents need to parent, but are we at a point now where these sites like YouTube, Snapchat even, and I don't know if Snapchat, because that's an instant video share, right? I mean, there's not really a filter.
You can do things, but yeah, it's like 10, 20 seconds. I think you can do unlimited now. It's the stupidest social media app there is. I'm sorry, Snapchat. It just is.
But I mean, is there any kind of oversight? Like, if say I wanted to Snapchat a video of me shooting somebody in the head, could Snapchat stop that video from ever going out?
That's a good question. I'm not sure of Snapchat's intermediary. I know when they started out, it was supposed to be you upload it, it lasts 24 hours, disappears. I know there's been some.
But I mean, I'm talking. Is there a way to even stop it from being seen? Like, is there a part like YouTube? You have to upload the video, and then I want to say, isn't there somebody that's supposed to see the video first? Or
I think YouTube's gotten too big. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of their rules.
And I don't like the sound of too big, because when I think too big, I think too big to fail, and I think about Lehman Brothers. I think about the real estate collapse and the banking system in this country. And
oh man, you're going off on a different tangent. Let's go back to the social media.
I'm getting that, but I think that's our biggest problem is I mean, when you look at the financial crisis in 2008 and you look at the subprime mortgage issue, those banks truly were only too big to fail because we identified them as too big to fail. And I think with like YouTube, to say that they're too big to be able to, I hate to use the word censor, because again, I'm not a big fan of censor. I'm very transparent.
Well, I think they rely, I think in the beginning they relied on like having to get it okayed. I think now they're switching to a, what is it? A community standard
Policing.
of censorship. Yeah. And so that's why you can get things flagged.
Reporting, like when you report a video.
And normally on YouTube, they're pretty good now. If it's reported in violation of something, it gets yanked.
Well, I would say that watching some stupid-ass kid eat a Tide Pod really wouldn't violate anything that I could see. But I think YouTube has a social responsibility at this point that if we see, say you get one video, okay, fine, we got one video. But when your video goes from 1 to 125,000 videos, okay, hold on. Maybe by the time we hit 15,000 videos, we need to stop and think about this, because that means there's 15,000 idiots out there. At least 15,000. I mean, you could have 2 or 3 people in that stupid video doing these Tide Pod challenges at once or more. But you've got to think that we're about to proliferate a social issue, I guess, if you want to call it that, or a social instance that's going to promulgate to something larger. If promulgate's even the right word I'm looking for there. It might be the wrong word.
Maybe. I don't know. That's tough to say. I mean, because yes, the Tide Pod challenge is obvious through our eyes is obviously a dumb thing to do.
Should we just have them do the Scotch challenge?
I'm all for that.
Or Scotch Devils, if they're twins. Oh, wait a minute.
Wait, but they do have to be of 21, right? Cause,
yes, absolutely. I mean, who else should... You're not supposed to drink alcohol if you're under the age of 21.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had parents that were very liberal. I had my first drink.
What? I can tell you right now, I can be over 21. All I gotta do is write 21 on a post-it note, put it on the floor, and stand over it. I'm over 21. You know, that's actually, believe it or not, that's a factual thing. Okay, so during the Civil War,
oh my God,
when young men wanted to enlist in the Union Army, well, they had to be over 18. So what they would do is they would slip a piece of paper in their shoe that said 18, and so they were being honest when they were asked, "Are you over 18?" Oh,
now, did something stop?
No.
What do we got going on?
What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Now you are being on the podcast. I just have to admit. Okay, I'm being honest now. Now you're on the podcast. Everybody, this is Andy. He's somebody I work with. You can say hi, Andy.
Hi, but I will call you later.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, man. Bye.
Bye.
He must want to talk shop or negatively about the company you work for.
Which we won't mention because now we've just used the term negative and, you know. I mean, I'm sure you have negative things you could say about your institution or at least your profession. Not even your profession. I guess it would. What would you... industry? Would you call it an industry? Your vocation.
Well, you know what? I think the way things are going, that education at a collegiate level is not what it used to be. It has turned from trying to get a meaningful education to the institution trying to make money.
So what you're saying is higher education has become a profit-generating industry rather than a knowledge-generating industry.
Yeah, I can say that because they want to differentiate for-profit colleges from the traditional universities. That line is getting erased every day.
Okay.
Or every semester.
Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense when you stop and look at the administrative costs of universities these days because, I mean, tuition keeps increasing, but we don't see an increase in professor salary so much. But I think you and I were having a discussion a while back. You see a massive increase in administrative salaries.
Oh, no shit.
I mean, and these are, and you know, the funny thing is I know it's even more fun when you can when you can speak about public institutions because public institution funding is public. So I mean, you can go out there in the world and you can actually see these numbers and be like, "Good Lord, this is where my tuition is going." It's not going to the professor who's going to enlighten my child's world and show them a side of themselves that they never even knew they had because they're going to force that child to explore their inner intelligence as well as also gain more knowledge outside. No, I mean, we're talking, well, you know what was it? Something about a provost or something?
No. It was the chancellor of the UT system. His starting salary was $200,000. Over, I don't know, the 10 months that he was provost, chancellor of the UT system. He had $1 million raise.
So he went from $200,000 to a $800,000 increase over would you say a year?
10 months.
10 months. Now, what could a chancellor be doing to revolutionize the matriculation of the UT system as a whole to such a degree that he requires what is that? 800,000. That's what to 200,000. That's like a.
Well, I mean, that's $1 million raise, so 200,000 to $1.2 million.
Oh my God, that's like.
So divide $1.2 million by 200,000.
I don't even want to do the math.
So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's like a 600% increase.
I mean, what is that? I mean, who did he like bring hookers to campus for everybody? I mean.
You know, I don't know what he did.
Did he reinstate the chicken ranch?
I don't know.
That was for you, Dolly. That was for you.
But you look at it, and the numbers in universities are stagnant. So there's not. I mean, they say the numbers are going up. If you look on campus, I don't see the numbers going up. But I see the price of tuition and administration, their salaries skyrocketing.
And I mean, what do these people do? I mean, it's like you stop and think about higher education as a whole, and everybody's dream is their kids to go to college so that they can have a better life than them. But when we think about that better life and that educational opportunity, we think that they're going to sit in a classroom with a professor who's going to open their eyes to a world that they never knew existed, and it's going to make them a better person And because of that, they're also going to be a better provider for themselves and their family, hence
Well,
making the world progressively better. And I say progressive not in the sense of any ideological sense. I'm just talking progress, period.
well, you're going to see less of that because universities are switching to adjunct professors. We
So
don't
hold
get
on,
to stick around. Hold on.
Let me pause
Okay.
you there real quick. So, what is the difference between an adjunct professor and, I guess, a full-fledged professor?
Well, there's multiple tiers. So I, for example, am an adjunct professor. I have no guaranteed for money. Well, I mean, I do for my contract for the semester, but I'm not guaranteed any teaching, any money past my 6-month contract.
So basically, you're a 6-month contract. Every person it's like apartment leasing, but for professors.
Pretty much. And we're not guaranteed anything, right? But you have full-time professors who sign contracts and they're guaranteed like 4 classes a semester. I'm guaranteed 1 to 2, but I can only teach 1 studio class because if, I don't know, you go over a certain amount of hours, they have to give you benefits and they're like, whoa, check the brakes.
So basically, what you're getting at is that a adjunct professor really is a part-time, in a sense. If we're talking about, for those out there that are more used to the idea of full-time versus part-time, basically an adjunct professor is seen as a part-time professor versus a full-time professor who's going to carry 4 to say 10 or 6 classes.
4 to 6 classes. 6 would be pushing it, depending on the area. Man, I don't know. There's so much stuff going on in academia right now that I'm scared I won't have a job in a couple years. And that sucks.
Now, are you scared because people are putting less value on college degrees at this point because
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Numbers are down, especially in the art or where I teach photography. Numbers are down. Like I'm if I can get 10 students to make my class make, I'm lucky. There have been several semesters where I have 8 and they cut me and I'm losing the $5,000 I think I make per semester for one class. I mean, that's not even really a minimum wage job or a part-time job.
not really, yeah. And yet, if you stop and think about that, there are parents out there that are paying for their kids to go to college, and one of those classes they're going to take is your class, and yet look how little pay you're getting versus. I mean, I get an administrator's job is to cut costs and lower costs, and basically move things around in such a way that you get more bang for your buck. But here's the problem. When you think of higher education, the more bang for your buck should be that your child walks out of there with a higher level of consciousness than when they went in. That's the bang for your buck, not that he was just able to get a huge $1 million salary increase because of why.
I mean, a chancellor doesn't even teach.
Yeah.
He just oversees the teachers and the departments, but he never really has any contact with them.
So, I mean, so what does a chancellor do?
Good question.
I mean, it's just like, why does a superintendent make as much money as they do? And I get that their whole position is to oversee a district, but they're not the ones dealing with the students. They're not the ones that are turning around. And I mean, this is why teacher pay should be more. Now, granted, with higher salaries for teachers, even at the collegiate level and the public school level, the higher that salary is, the more we can be selective on which teachers stay and which teachers go.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And then with that, you will have more teachers reaching to be better teachers because the money's there. I mean, it's like
Well, that's across the board from
Well,
public high schools all the way up to college.
Well, I mean, take any other kind of job out there. All right, you take somebody who and you say, all right, well, I'm going to pay you this much because this is what you're worth at this point right now. But just think, if you hit this mark, and this mark, you're going to make this much.
And that used to be a thing. You would start out as an adjunct. You would build a following in your classes. They would see it's doing well. They would expand your classes. You would do really well. The classes kept making. You would then get to take another step up in the professor level, be a senior. A tenure track position is what everybody wants, but that's at like the highest level of professorship. I would love to be a senior lecturer. That's 4 to 5 classes a semester. I have benefits. I have a decent salary. Is it the best? No, but I could live on it. And now everything is switching to this adjunct mindset, and we don't have job security at all.
That's frightening.
Yeah, it should be frightening for everyone because the tenure track positions that used to be there, those teachers are retiring, and then guess what? That position vanishes. And then they hire 1 or 2 adjuncts to take that position.
So basically, it's kind of like switching over to part-time professors to fill a full-time so that they can save money on benefits and...
Yeah, but then, like what you were talking about, the student misses out on becoming friends. Yeah, becoming friends with that professor and having that professor. Well, I don't want to say friends because that makes it seem.
Rapport.
You have a rapport with them, and that professor helps build like the worldview. Because like when I teach, I want my students to explore the world. And I tell this to the detriment of my own job. Travel. Leave the United States for a little bit and see what is around you.
Well, you know what they say to...
And I keep hitting the mic stand.
You know what they say, to get a real idea of your own culture, you got to step outside of it and view somebody else's, right?
Yeah, but the opportunities even for the travel for these students aren't there. They're part-time workers. They're still living at home with their mom and dad, and they have trouble making ends meet.
We never did answer that Tide Pod Challenge question, did we?
Oh, we're going back to that thing.
I was just sitting here thinking about it. I was like, I don't even know how we veered. I'm the one that veered us, and I don't even remember how I veered us, but...
Scotch and whiskey.
Well, there's that, but...
We do have a Twitter. What is it? Centrally Biased at Twitter, whatever the hell it is.
Just look us up, Centrally Biased. There's that.
We're putting... Yeah, well, do we have a Facebook?
Yeah, I think we have a Facebook page.
I know we have an Instagram and a Twitter.
Well, we'll probably have one after this, if we don't already.
All right, so I'm just reiterating that so that if y'all out in podcast land, internet world, whatever, you have questions, comments, concerns, you want to make fun of us, look us up, shoot us a tweet, shoot us a Instagram.
Hey, if you just want to get our take on any kind of subject matter. That's the thing is we talk about stuff that hits us in our everyday life. We really want to know what hits you in your everyday life, because the only way we can ever come to a solution is we got to come to it together. And when we have conversations, and you'll see throughout this podcast that me and Kaylin here are not going to agree on everything, and we're going to do our best.
Butt heads.
Yeah, we're going to butt heads, absolutely. Hence, it's kind of part of the theme to this podcast as well. We say centrally biased because everyone is centrally biased. You're centrally biased to your own point of view. We can also turn around and look at it and say we want you to be more centrally biased, meaning that you're not left, you're not right, you're
free
right.
thinking. Free thinking,
absolutely. Which is why we don't edit, we don't cut. We may throw some music over this at some point, when it comes to that point.
Hopefully we don't get pulled.
Yeah, hopefully. But we believe in the transparency of it, because when you start editing, cutting things out, then we feel it takes away from the genuine conversation, and
Yeah.
and the conversation is what it's all about. When people start talking,
and that's what I like you say, conversation. We're not debating, we're not arguing, we're conversing. And conversation is a lost art.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe that just means that everybody else needs to start drinking the scotch and whiskey and conversing rather than debating. Could you imagine that? I mean, think of a president. Imagine if Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were drunk, or at least drinking. When they
Trump's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you could have a civil discussion about things, it's much better. Like, name calling gets you nowhere. Yelling gets you nowhere. Even though we yell and name call each other all the time.
I was gonna say, y'all might hear some of that.
But I mean, we're brothers from another mother, but that's how we roll.
Oh, yes. And rolling meaning we're not taking ecstasy or anything because.
Oh, geez, wouldn't that be a whole different podcast?
Well, I was just going to say, because neither one of us can afford that kind of lifestyle, so we have to. I didn't even pay for the Valley of the Deer over here. That's 15 years old.
What is it? My mom has a great quote from back in the days when she was working. She was fired once because they said she
was only fired once.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they said it was because she had a drug problem. Which my mother did not have a drug problem. But her answer was, oh my God, like, mwah. She turned around and said, you're right, I do have a drug problem. I don't make enough money to do drugs.
That's great. That's great. That kind of leads us into our next segment, our next podcast, which we'll probably talk about employment and experience levels, which I know Kaylin's got a great quote for that.
Why wait? Why wait?
Because they have to. Got to make them wait.
I mean, what are we running on right now?
Well, we're at 42 minutes here, and why make them wait? Because they gotta jump on board for the next episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, is this one wrapping up? Is it only 40 minutes? I mean, we still have some scotch. Well, I'm out of whiskey, but you still got scotch. I can switch.
We're not drinking all my scotch.
Well, I didn't say drink it all.
Did you really empty that whole bottle?
No, dude. When I brought it, it was only like that much because people at the party last night kind of hit it pretty hard.
Hitting it pretty hard, huh?
Oh, well. For professors, I think so.
Did y'all start, matriculating all kinds of crazy?
No. Unfortunately, this was just a faculty mixer just to meet everybody, the new hires. And, there wasn't anybody.
What is that like? I'm kind of curious. What is a faculty mixer like? I mean,
well, you do have at community college, they're not tenured, but they are on contract.
When I think about it, I think about like a high school teacher's lounge where everybody's got coffee mugs, but it's not coffee, it's vodka that's in the coffee mug that nobody wants to. They're talking about the dipshit students that they get this year, and then you see what's his name from Breakfast Club, the teacher, and he's like bull by the horns. You got that guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what it turns into. We talk about the students who are problematic. We talk about the students who are enthusiastic about the class, but they need to tone it down. Like, I have one student this semester, like, oh my God, he is like a troll, and I mean like internet troll, right? He just trolls and.
I thought you were saying that he was green and had bad acne.
No. I don't have Shrek, but you'll be discussing.
Shrek was an ogre, not a troll.
Oh, you're right. But the student, I mean, he has great one-liners, but it's like, dude, I'm in the middle of a lecture. Hold off. And I've actually had to troll him back, because if you flip the script and you put it on them, they get real shy, and that's the only way I can continue with lecture because he will keep talking.
Now, be honest. You look forward to that some days, don't you? That he's gonna have that one liner, and you're like, "All right, it's on, motherfucker."
Well, with that student, yes, because I know he means no harm in anything. just excited. And I wish more students were like him, because he's vocal, he speaks, he talks.
Well, he's what most professors want in their students, because it when students talk and converse amongst themselves and within the class, it not only makes the day go by easier, obviously for everybody, but it also it heightens the learning atmosphere, because people learn from people.
Well, especially in what I teach. It's photography and art, and you base everything off what everybody else says. Is it working? Is it not working? And the fact that now people don't want to talk, like, I have to pull it out of them. Outside of this one student, I have to like put them on the spot and be like, talk.
And then when you put them on the spot, it makes them clam up even more, because it's like, I even remember I was an instructor for quite a bit of time at my job, where I taught new employees coming in from the world how to do a specific technical task. And when you're talking, frequencies or wire mapping, any of this kind of stuff, and you've got some of these guys and girls that have just no technical experience whatsoever, and you're sitting there and I'm only got a class of 8. I mean, the largest class I've ever taught in front of is 24, when most professors have maybe 20. At the most, and
depending on the school. My cap for my classes for what I teach is 18.
Okay, so like I said, the most I've ever taught in front of is 24. But sitting there trying to get these individuals to open up, and they seem to not understand that you may say the wrong thing or give the wrong response, but that's the learning of it, is that and in that courageous effort to give a response and then be corrected, you just helped somebody over here who wasn't the one that was called on. Not that they didn't raise their hand, but when you have an atmosphere where nobody's raising their hands, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in that same boat. And then the people that do know the answers, they're so timid. Like, there's another student in the same class. She knows all the information,
but she's too afraid to speak, because it's that fear of being wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe not even just the fear of being wrong, just it's that social. It's what we talked about earlier. The difference between the generations is that with the introduction of technology at such a young age, the development of social interaction has been so diminished that for people to speak up inside, in a small crowd even, is a daunting task. It's like David versus Goliath. It's the single knight versus the dragon breathing fire. It's like, I can't do this. You know?
And I've encouraged that one student. I'm like, this, speak up. And she just and she like answers the question like with the question, and you're like, is it this? And you're like, you have answered every question correct that nobody else has got. Like, you should
that's when you look at him and be like, hey, take a chance. Okay.
You know what? When I'm teaching and they give me the wrong answer, I tell them to flip a coin again. Because most of the time I give them an A or B answer. Oop, more scotch.
Well, the ice cube is still frozen.
Oh, well, there you go. And even then, when I'm not judging them on a wrong answer, they still have problems.
It's like I always found it really, for me as an instructor, I always loved it when the one student that did or did not know the answer took that chance. Like, they jumped off the cliff, they spread their wings, they wanted to see if they could fly, and the next thing you know, this girl is soaring next to the sun. They knocked it out of the park, and you're like, yes, that's what I'm talking about right there. You knew what you were talking about, you had the confidence to say it, and look what happened. You taught everybody in this room what it was to succeed. I wish our youth had more of that.
Yeah, and I do. I see that in the younger students. Now, I do have older students who will just, is it this? Like, yeah, you got it. But I even have some older students that are still scared to give the answer, and it's like, it. And I don't know where, that lies that they're afraid to be wrong. Because it's okay to be wrong.
Well, that's it's okay to fail. It's not okay to quit trying.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of those football mantras or whatever. Like, are you hurt, you injured, or stuff like that.
Well, it's like I'm trying to think of there's a game, an internet game that we would play. It's a favorite amongst teachers these days, where you create questions and everybody logs in and they can
Oh, I
play.
think you've told me that. Yeah, I think you used it, right? Kahoots.
Cahoots, yes, that's what I was like, what is it? Oh my God, the Scotch is just blocking it.
Yeah.
We played Cahoots. It was actually like, and I think like in your area you could do great with it
Yeah.
because you can put pictures and then you have the question where it pops up. Like you
Yeah.
could always, just for instance, who painted this painting? And you could have the Mona Lisa up there, and you could have the options of Da Vinci, Monet, and Vermeer, right? Now,
One of them slept with their wife, and the other one had syphilis. Or,
correct, exactly.
Whatever.
They painted occasionally too.
Yeah, I butchered that quote.
You did, absolutely. Danny Ocean would be very upset.
Danny Ocean.
I've never been to Belize, but I always found it was great because I would take like test results from meter readings, and I would put a picture of it up there, and I'd have certain things blanked out of the picture, and I'd say, okay, so you have a noise margin rate of 60. Is this good or bad, or some kind of crap like that? Or I would say the noise margin rate is passing. What is the passing threshold? I can actually hear myself echoing like crazy in your mic. That's really weird.
Well, here, let me loosen this up and pull it out this way. That's what she said.
Yeah, that's really weird. But so I just always thought it was really cool because when I sat there and we would sit there and we would put up these test readings, because the whole idea of the Cahoots game was to get everybody talking. Afterward we'd be like, well, what was wrong with this, what was wrong with that, and get everybody conversing. And the great thing about the Cahoots is that when you throw that picture up there, they can see that meter, that test meter reading. People would understand that, oh, this is what I should see when I'm testing out in the real world.
Yeah.
So they would burn that image in their head and what the threshold should be. So, I mean, I don't know. It might work for you.
I think that could work for a lot of teachers. I think that could really go over in high schools and public school because everybody has a damn cell phone now.
Absolutely.
Like if you have to engage the students, okay, instead of locking up the cell phones, get them to use it.
Because here's the thing, if they're sitting there looking at their cell phone, playing Cahoots, and it's fun, you should see these guys. I mean, you're talking 18 to 30-year-olds. And like what I used to do is okay, so for one of the classes we'd have, every morning I would do a Cahoots game to reiterate what they learned the day before. But because every day we also had lab time where they had to spend hours in the lab actually physically putting their hands on this kind of circuitry and putting things together, I used to tell them, highest score gets control of the radio.
Oh, hey, that works.
And I will tell you, I've never heard because we even used Pandora, so they could literally pick whatever genre they wanted.
Yeah.
One dude was an asshole and totally picked show tunes one time.
Not show tunes.
Oh.
Okay. I'm not casting. Well, maybe I am casting shade on show tunes, but I no, that's not my choice.
Well, no, but what was funny is that he knew exactly what he was doing. Because he told me afterward, he goes, you know why I picked show tunes, right? And I'm like, because you hate all of us? And he goes, no, not so much that I hate everybody. Watch how many of these other guys that aren't speaking up or really aren't engaged. Watch what happens. I was like, fuck. Now he's a guy that wanted to be a trainer, though. So, I could see why he went that route. Sure enough, the next day, wow. Like, these guys were on key. And then we had to listen to Tupac the rest of the day.
Hey.
Well, now, hold on now. I like Tupac. Okay. Tupac. But, could have been something other than just Tupac all day.
I got you.
You're talking 6 hours in a lab. That's 6 hours of Tupac. We heard, how many times we heard
California Love?
How many times we heard California Love?
I got you.
Yeah.
But you know what? 6 hours of Tupac is better than 6 hours of this new mumble rap. Can't do it.
Mumble rap. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll leave it there until later. But, yeah, mumble rap.
So. Well, I'm going to say that that's probably all we have for this time. Thanks for joining us. And again, like we said, what was that Twitter again?
Centrally Biased. We have an Instagram, Centrally Biased. Hey, hit us up. If you want to start an argument, we will team up and you will lose. I think.
Well, it depends on what the argument is.
Yeah, I mean, if they were to if they were to get into an argument about 18th century French literature, we're
just going to take you down, okay? We're going to take you down to Chinatown.
All right, so Centrally Biased. We have an email, centrallybiased@gmail.com. If you want to shoot us a question and you're one of those few who don't want it out on the interwebs, shoot it to us, and we'll try to answer it on the next podcast.
And for all you guys out there, just before you send in that question, yes, Kaylin is absolutely single and ready to mingle.
You're such an asshole.
What? I just figured the question that didn't want to be asked.
What?
Drink your drink.
I think I will.